All right, welcome back, players, to another explainer. Today, I'm super excited because I'm stepping into the role of lead developer to walk you through an exclusive dev diary for our ultimate strategic economics simulator, the four sectors of the macro map. If you've been sitting there wondering how to optimize your resource loops or, absolutely dominate the endgame economy, well, you are in the exact right place. We're going to break down the entire architecture of this simulation, faction by faction, system by system. So let's jump right in. Here is a quick look at our developer roadmap for today. We're going to cover choosing your base faction, the expansion factions, core game mechanics, leveling up the map, and we'll wrap it all up with the endgame balance. But before you can start building a sprawling economic empire, you kind of need to know how to win, right? I mean, in most games, you just want the highest score. So what exactly is the ultimate victory condition in this simulation? How do we actually measure the success and sheer power of your entire map? Well, your absolute win state is maximizing your national income. Basically, this is the total money value of all final goods and services produced by your normal residents in a single year. Now, the really absolutely crucial word here is final. To keep our game scoring engine from totally glitching out, we only count final goods. So things like a finished car or a baked loaf of bread. If we counted the flour used to make the bread and then counted the bread itself on top of that, we trigger this massive system error called double counting. We only score the items that directly satisfy the ultimate wants of your consumers. Make sense? Okay, section 1. Let's choose your base faction. Faction 1 is the households. And listen, whatever you do, do not underestimate them. They are literally the absolute foundation of the map, and that's because they are the primary owners of all factor services. In game terms, that means they control the land, the labor, and the capital. Their core gameplay loop is absolutely vital. They sell these services to producers to generate income, then they take that income and spend a huge chunk of it on consumer goods, save a little portion for later, and of course, pay taxes to the government. Honestly, without the household supplying that raw potential, the entire server just stands perfectly still. Moving on to your second starting class, we have Faction 2, the business sector, or just farms. Think of these guys as the production engines of the game. They encompass both private and government enterprises. They take the raw resources, meaning they hire those factor services directly from the households, and they use them to craft valuable commodities. Then they turn around and sell these finished goods back to the households, to other firms, or, as you unlock higher levels, to the government and foreign nations. So they're the principal buyers of factors and the main producers of commodities across your map. Moving right along to Section 2, the expansion factions. So, as you progress, you unlock Faction 3, the general government. You can kind of think of them as the map's active moderator. They don't operate as commercial business units. Instead, they extract a unique resource, taxes, both direct and indirect, from your households and firms. But here's the catch. They don't just hoard it. They use that tax revenue to buy goods and factor services, which they then deploy to provide massive, server-wide, collective buffs. We're talking free services like policing, education, medical facilities, and sanitation. They also issue these things called transfer payments. Think pensions or subsidies. These are basically unilateral resource drops where no current production is required in return. Pretty sweet deal, really. And finally, Faction 4 unlocks the true endgame, the rest of the world. This totally changes the game. It turns your closed local server into a massive multiplayer open-world interface. This faction manages all of your international trade, so you can now export your surplus goods to other countries or import the specific items you need. It even handles the cross-border movement of factor services. That means your household units can literally go work on foreign servers and send foreign remittances right back home. All right, Section 3, let's talk about the core game mechanics. Okay, so the game actually runs on two parallel interlocking resource tracks. First up, you have real flows. This is the physical, tangible movement of items, like the actual physical labor of a worker going to a factory, or a real, drivable car moving from a firm to a household. Second, you have money flows. This is the game's currency track, and it moves in the exact opposite direction. So when a household gives their physical labor, which is a real flow, the firm sends back wages, which is a money flow. Managing the delicate balance between the physical reality and the currency tracking is absolutely key to a smooth simulation. Now, the real trick here is managing your map's buffs and debuffs, which economists call injections and withdrawals, or leakages. Leakages are basically your debuffs. They actively drain money right out of your active circular flow. When households put money into savings, pay taxes, or buy imports from other servers, that currency literally leaves your local flow. It reduces the map's total income. To counter this, you desperately need injections. These are your buffs. They are aggressive outside additions pumping currency back into the system. So investment expenditures from firms, government spending on public works, and selling exports to foreign servers, all of those inject vital lifeblood right back into your economy. Next up, Section 4, Leveling Up the Map. Okay, let's look at the tutorial level map, the two-sector model. This features the pure, continuous loop just between households and firms. The outer pathway represents the physical flow of factor services and goods, while the inner pathway tracks the money bouncing back and forth. And right there in the middle is the capital market. This is really your first complex mechanic. When households save money, which is a leakage, marked with an S, it drops into the capital market, representing things like banks and mutual funds. The capital market then routes those savings directly back to the firms as investment, an injection, marked with an I. To maintain a perfect constant level here, your total savings must exactly equal your total investments. Now, let's bump up the difficulty. Here is the mid-game expansion, the three-sector model. The government faction has patched right into the top of the map, and the complexity instantly ramps up. Now, both households and firms are dealing with a brand new leakage, taxes, pointing up to the government. But remember, the government is a moderator, not a hoarder. They take those taxes and aggressively pump them back into the map through government purchases, subsidies, and transfer payments. The equilibrium strategy here gets a lot tougher, though. The contraction caused by your total savings plus taxes must now be perfectly offset by the expansion from investments and government spending. And finally, welcome to the end game, the four-sector open economy model. The map is fully unlocked. The rest of the world faction is live down at the bottom. The flows at this stage are highly complex. You have new massive leakages as money flows out to pay for imports. But on the flip side, you also have massive new injections as you receive receipts from exports and foreign remittances. This is the ultimate test of a player's ability to manage an economy. Every single sector is firing, every market is interacting, and the variables are constantly shifting. Which brings us to Section 5, the endgame balance. All right, here it is, the game's ultimate cheat code. The master equation for endgame balance. S plus T plus M equals I plus G plus X. So what does this actually mean for you? It means your total withdrawals, that's savings, taxes, and imports, must perfectly balance against your total injections, which are investment, government spending, and exports. If the left side is heavier, your economy shrinks and your national income score plummets. But if the right side is heavier, your economy expands, pushing up the level of income across the entire map. And that brings us to the end of today's dev update. You now know the factions, the mechanics, the buffs, the debuffs, and the absolute ultimate equation for balance. The tools are entirely in your hands now. So I want to leave you with this final challenge. In your next playthrough of Life in Economics, how will you optimize your injections to dominate the macro map? Keep strategizing, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.